That is our opening act on tonight's show, Jim Glaser. Come on over, Jim. Welcome back.
Thank you.
They liked it. Sweet singing Jim Glaser. Gifted.
Thank you.
Got a beautiful voice. How you doing?
You know, I had a lot of voice trouble through the last couple of years. And didn't know what it was. Thought it was a lot of different things. Thought it was maybe, you know, I run some. I thought maybe it was breathing in the hot air in the summertime or something. And I met a person out here at the Nashville Network that I talked to that was doing some vocal coaching here for one of the shows. And in one-hour session, the man has done wonderful things to take away a lot of the problems.
What essentially did he do for you?
Well, he talked about posture. He talked about how you breathe. He talked about how you direct the breath through your mouth when you sing to put less stress on the vocal cords. A few things like that. Very helpful.
Were you feeling stress?
On the vocal cords?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a funny thing. I never knew when it was going to hit. I could open my mouth for the first time on the first show of a night and not have a voice. Or sometime it would be, you know, in the middle of the second set. But it would just go. It wouldn't be sore. It would just go away.
Do you, before you go on stage to work a show, you try to avoid stressful situations?
Try to, yeah. Because that kind of stress, too, can make all your muscles kind of tense up. I like to have a little, what I call a quiet time, just a few minutes of really just quietness.
Yeah, I was talking to the Oak Ridge boys about this very thing, and they said they try to keep any stressful situation from them, away from them, several hours before showtime. They just sort of, like you, they sort of isolate themselves for that reason. Because you don't want to go out on stage upset.
No, you really don't. It's actually something I learned back, you know, when the Glaser brothers were in our late 60s, early 70s period when we had all the businesses going and we were on the road weekends and then in the office all through the week. We were discussing business in the wings waiting to go on, you know. And I just found that wasn't really a good way to approach getting out and performing, because you get out on stage and there's people and the first thought about performing comes to you at that moment. And it's just better if you have a little time to prepare yourself.
How do you prepare yourself mentally?
Mentally, just try to just quiet down. And there's a natural tension that builds before you go on stage. At least I hope it always will in my case.
You get nervous?
Yeah, and it's a good thing, because as soon as you step out, the tension goes away, and there's a wonderful kind of release that happens there. And that's what I try to do, is just get calmed down and let that nice kind of butterflies or excitement do its thing.
Let me share a problem with you and see if you have the same problem. I know some entertainers who do. When I go home at night from this show, I can't go home and just go to sleep. I'm so wound up. And I know a lot of entertainers who are very nocturnal. Conway Twitty is a classic example. He'll stay up all night. Marty Robbins was a guy that would stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning. And because for some reason, they can't calm down enough to go to sleep.
Are you that way?
Well, I finally can, yeah, I'm sort of that way. I don't stay up all night, but it takes me a while to go to sleep.
I'm not as bad now as it was earlier on in my career. I've also learned to tone that down and control that some. And I don't really know what caused that at an earlier point in my life, but a lot of it was getting keyed up on that excitement and not wanting to turn it loose, you know.
Well, I want to turn it loose, but I really get keyed up. I have a good time here.
Yeah.
I get keyed up, and I'm at the house after driving through Nashville traffic. That doesn't do your nerves any good. And then I get home, and I'm just going, wow.
Well, I used to have the opposite kind of a problem earlier on. I used to have what I call after-performance blues. And I'd get into a real, like, depression. And the better I went over, the more depressed I would be afterwards.
Kidding. I never heard of that reaction.
APB, after-performance blues.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. I figured out why, too, finally.
Why?
Well, it's because a lot of entertainers, when they go on stage, they're developing a relationship with that audience. And it's kind of like a love relationship, you know. And because all of us little insecure entertainers are seeking love, you know. So you go out there and you perform for that audience and you feel that love come back, and then you go and you're alone. And
oh, in other words, if you could take the crowd home with you, you'd be all right.
Yeah, but see, that's insecure performers don't really want a one-on-one relationship. They kind of shy away from that. They have a lot of trouble developing, you know, a real good one-on-one.
You think that's the reason Elvis always carried that mob around with him?
I think a lot of entertainers do for that very reason.